morning from our Winterland garden. It's the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, and we're finally having a bit of proper winter. Because of the freezing temperatures, the canals and lakes have frozen over, and it's making the whole Dutch nation very happy. Everybody is skating, and it has even made the news abroad. We have seen there was an item on this on the BBC, and my parents in the Czech Republic said they had also seen footage of people skating in Amsterdam on their news. Both my son and husband are avid skaters, so they're also trying to make the most of this season, and in fact they want to go skating as soon as we're done filming. I thought I would take this opportunity to address what is probably the most frequently asked question on this channel, and that's, what zone are you in? If you're new here, my name is Vera Greuting. I am a permaculture gardener, designer and author, and I live and garden in the Netherlands, close to the German border. However, many of my viewers are in the US, and when they ask me about zones, what they refer to are the hardiness zones as established by the United States Department of Agriculture. The concept of zones is not really much used in Europe, but there are maps that will tell you what zone you fall into. And when I look at those, our garden is in zone 8A. That would put us in the same zone as the southern states in the United States, such as Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. But I feel like our climate is quite different from those southern states. The reason for this is that the only thing that the USDA takes into account when establishing the zones is the average minimum temperature. For zone 8A, the average minimum temperature is 10 to 15 Fahrenheit, which is between minus 12 and minus 9.4 degrees Celsius, which seems quite accurate, even though this past week we have experienced temperatures that were somewhat lower than that. This says nothing about the length of the frost-free growing season or the impact of day length. And to illustrate what difference this makes, I have chosen to compare our growing conditions to those of Atlanta, Georgia, which is also in something like zones between 7B and 8A, which is, I think, comparable to ours. That means that the average minimum temperatures are comparable, but when you look at other aspects, the differences are quite big. For example, as far as I was able to find out, the last average frost date for Atlanta, Georgia is on the 30th of March. For us, it's mid-May, so that means 1.5 months later. The average growing season for Atlanta, Georgia is 195 days. For us, it's quite a bit less. Last year, our last frost was around mid-May, and our first frost in fall was on the 17th of October. That means that our growing season in 2020 was just 22 weeks, which is about 154 days, and that means it was more than a month shorter than that of Atlanta, Georgia. I think that's quite typical for our region, but it can be worse than that. In 2019, our last frost date occurred on the 10th of July, and our first frost in fall was on the 29th of October, which means that our frost-free growing season that year was less than 100 days. Now let's look at the impact of day length. Plant growth slows down considerably, or comes to standstill altogether, once the days become shorter than 10 hours. In fact, we're still in this period, and only tomorrow, on the 15th of February, our day will pass this amount of daylight, and the days will become longer again than 10 hours. And they will start being shorter again towards the end of October. In Atlanta, Georgia, the days already became longer than 10 hours on the 5th of January. Their period of short day lengths, under 10 hours, is just a month, whereas for us it's almost 4 months. The differences are caused by the fact that Atlanta, Georgia is on the 33rd parallel north, whereas we are almost 20 degrees to the north from that, which is we are on the 52nd parallel north. Now, why do all these things matter? Well, the hardiness zone, or the average minimum temperature, will tell you what perennial plants should survive in your region. However, it's not very important when it comes to growing annual vegetables. For those, the other two factors, the length of the first free growing season and the day length during winter months, matter more. Because of our short first free growing season, we have to start all our non-hardy vegetables such as tomatoes, eggplant, winter squash. We have to start them inside well ahead of the last expected frost date. And we have to take into account the short season when choosing the varieties that we grow. I have mentioned in some of my previous videos that our winters are becoming milder. And in fact, the temperatures that we have experienced this past week have not occurred for some years. And it has made me a little complacent. In this garden, which we started at the beginning of 2016, I have planted some plants, some perennials, which are a little risky for our climate. So we'll have to see how they will fare this winter. Also, perennial vegetables such as artichokes usually do not survive our winters. They did survive last winter, which was a lot milder than this one. I think they will not survive this year, so we'll have to start new plants again in spring. The beauty of gardening is that every season brings a fresh start and new opportunities. And in my next video, I'll do an unboxing of my seed orders, and I will show you what annual vegetables and flowers I'll be growing this year. I hope this video has shed some light on the question what climate we garden in, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I would also like for you to let me know in the comments what the climate that you garden in is like. Happy gardening!